Welcome back, where we are talking about how quickly you can become financially free and the many ways the concept of financial freedom can be approached. Financial freedom is having the money working for you make more money than is required to meet your monthly living expenses. So, for example, if you need $5,000 a month to live, your money working for you should be equal to or more than $5,000. And that is how I define financial freedom. This gives you the flexibility to spend your time as you wish. You don't need to work. You can spend more time with family, on hobbies, travel, learning new skills. Maybe you want to cook, you want to play an instrument or something like that. Having financial freedom gives you that ability. And in this video, we're going to discuss how quickly you can reach that. The first concept we're going to explore is compound interest. This is the first thing you need to know on your path to financial freedom. Compound interest is an investor's best friend. Compound interest works by essentially earning interest on your interest. For example, you have $100 and you earn 10% interest on that. So after the first year, now you have $110. In the second year, the interest is going to be applied to the principal plus the interest, which is the $110, not just the principal of $100. So over time, as you earn interest on your interest, this really begins to accelerate the speed of your wealth creation. Before I begin, let me just run you through some of the numbers and how I got to them. So we're going to be using the S&P 500 index. The S&P 500 index is essentially buying into the top 500 companies in the US market. Since the S&P 500 began, it has returned an average annual return of 9%. So we're going to use that as the estimated rate of return. That is the long-term average return on your investments. So that is where the 9% comes from in these calculations. Looking back at our first example, we talked about a $5,000 monthly expense. In order to have our money make enough money to give us that $5,000, I estimated we need about $680,000 saved up in our investments. Let's run through some examples of how we can get there. So we're going to look at 3 different examples. The first example is not going to take any of your time. This is a set and forget strategy with a very basic contribution and initial investment. The second example is going to take no additional attention from you daily, weekly, monthly. You're just giving contributions monthly and set and forget. But the second example is going to be a much larger contribution. And then the third example, I'm going to talk about what if you want to spend a bit of extra time learning about the markets and increasing that rate of return, maybe getting a little bit more than 9%. So I'm going to talk about that as well. So here is the first example. Initial deposit, $5,000, and monthly contributions of $300. And to get to that $680,000 that you need to be financially free, it's going to take about 32 years to get there. So let's look at the second example. The second example is $5,000 initial deposit, but now you're contributing $1,000 a month. Okay, this is a bit much. If you're really motivated to become financially free, then this is what it's going to take. Okay, you don't want to spend any extra time. You just want to set and forget. You take that $1,000 every month, you put it away, and you know you're making 9% per year compounded. It's going to take you about 20 years. Okay, so that's 12 years sooner. I just want to see as a thought experiment. So that's 20 years. Your net worth is now $666,000. Let's look after 21 years. Now you're up to $740,000. Let's look at 22 years. Now you're up to $818,000. So that is really the secret sauce to investing. You can see this compound interest. As we get farther and farther out, that's where it really works its magic. In the beginning, you can see by this curve, the blue line represents your principal amount and the green line represents that compound interest that you're making. So you can see as we get up into these 20 years, 21, 22 years, the difference between that principal and that interest earned is really starting to expand. Again, this is no additional attention. This is set and forget. So if you're 20 right now and you're watching this, essentially you could retire at the age of 41 if you invest in this strategy. Now let's look at example 3, and that is you have a bit of time, you want to learn about the markets, you want to beat that 9% return that the S&P 500 can make you. Now this is possible. It's going to take a bit of time, maybe an hour, 2 hours a day, or maybe 5 hours a week, something like that. You want to learn how to read a chart. You want to learn some technical analysis skills. And let's say, for example, you can make a return of 15%. That is doable. It's fairly conservative. A lot of top traders and investors can do a bit better than that, but 15%, that's doable. And same as before, you have 5,000 you're going to invest, and you're still working, and you want to put aside $1,000 a month. So essentially, if you can get that 15% return, you're going to reach financial freedom in 15 years. So that is still pretty good. 15 years, that's not a long time. You can put aside $1,000 per month for 15 years. If you want to achieve financial freedom and that's your goal, then it's possible. Part of the reason I wanted to run you through some of these examples is that I don't want you to get the wrong idea that you can achieve financial freedom next year or this year, even in 5 years. You don't want to set unrealistic expectations. You're just going to get stressed. You're going to get worked up. You can't get rich overnight, but you can get rich slowly. It just takes time. So these examples are the ones I've chosen, but obviously your situation is going to be different. And if you want to reach financial freedom, if that's your goal, then I urge you to pull up one of these calculators and do it for yourself. Okay, so we've gone through a few examples of how quickly you can become financially free. Hopefully that gives you a bit of a sense of where you're at, where you want to go, and how long that's going to take, and what's required of you. Next, I just want to give you a bit of a warning against following people's tried and tested strategies. It's inevitable on YouTube, wherever, you're going to come across these people who guarantee 100x, like 10x per year, all this stuff. And look, that's great. That might work for them. They might be achieving these results, but it's so important in trading and investing that you really have to follow your own path. I can tell you this works for me, but it's not going to work for you. That really is the golden rule in trading and investing. You have to find a strategy, find a plan that suits your temperament, your psychology. And I'll tell you, you can beat the market. You can make more than 9%, but it's going to take a bit of time. You have to study, you have to do the research, and you have to model the great investors and traders, but you have to tailor it to your individual psychology. Just be careful. Just be careful. Ultimately, you have to walk your own path. So that kind of wraps it up. Thanks for watching. This was how quickly you can become financially free. Hopefully this answered some of your questions. Maybe it didn't. Maybe you knew all this stuff anyways. But just trying to set the groundwork for what's to come, and setting your expectations, such an important part of trading and investing. And if you liked the video, give me a subscribe, like, and stick around. It's going to be a lot more videos like this, and we're going to dive deeper into some of these interesting topics that I find interesting. Hopefully you find them interesting too. Thanks again, and we'll see you later.